Hello and welcome back, my beautiful audience, to our third episode of 30 for 30 in 30 as we discuss every 30 for 30. On today's episode, we're talking small potatoes. Who killed the USFL, the United States Football League? Directed by Mike Tolan. And we start off with a 1983 quote by now ex president Donald Trump. Quote,
Yikes.
if God wanted football in the spring, he wouldn't have made baseball. Now I'd like to introduce Nick and Ryan to the pod. Boys.
Hey, what's up? God, the well-known inventor of baseball and major stickler about having different sports leagues scheduled not overlap.
God forbid
He does have a big hand in scheduling in American sports.
So now the film opens up with a little commercial by Harry Usher, then USFL executive, but eventual commissioner, I believe in 86, where he says, the great thing about living in the United States is that it allows you freedom of choice. If you become bored with something because it's grown old, tired, and predictable, you can choose something else. And the United States Football League is something else. I just think that's just it's such a sad commercial. It's like, you like this thing, this good brand. We're something else. You should try it.
We're on at a different time.
We're in the spring.
Just give it a shot.
You get bored in the spring, baseball team's not doing good. Yeah, we're something else.
But like they what is the difference between it and the NFL? Were there any rule changes? Were there any other than the helmets look different and all the team names are like illegal things?
The USFL invented the 2-point conversion. That didn't exist in the NFL before this.
Okay.
And challenge flags, yeah.
Okay, I remember the challenge.
It wasn't too different, but they were the fun league because people at that time were saying the NFL was the no fun league, but the USFL
so much
was all
fun.
about entertainment, baby.
It did seem like the USFL, in all those highlight clips, it did seem like it was the real life version of NFL Blitz. You had Madden, your normal standard Madden, but in the spring you got to watch NFL Blitz and people just kind of give each other concussions. So it could be fun. I get how it's different and more entertaining.
Sure. I could absolutely see Brad being a fan of the Jacksonville Bulls instead of the Jaguars.
Yeah.
If the USFL continued to win, all of us
probably would have been a
alive.
better team. I mean, the limit's not very high for the Jags right now. But hey, they're coming back.
Yeah,
You
they're
mark my
going to
words
get
there,
the
Ryan.
What? No, I got love for the Jags. Kidding me?
And it's
stay on the pod, Ryan. They are your favorite team.
No, Minnesota Timberwolves, baby.
Well, no, football.
Football team? No, they're not my favorite team.
All right, fudge.
That's true. We should talk about football. We never even touched on our background on football. We said we were going to do that.
We don't have to. I mean, we go over a lot of the same sports. I think it was right to not do that every episode. Did you guys ever play football? I played football for 2 years, and I was the smallest guy out there in 5th and 6th grade.
I played from 4th grade to 8th grade in my highlight, starting QB in 5th grade, baby.
Wow.
It was only downhill from there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's highlight of life. You never get to be starting QB of anything that you've ever been in.
But the funny thing is, back in 4th and 5th grade, you didn't throw the ball. No one could throw the ball.
I was a receiver in 6th grade, and I caught 8 touchdowns. That was pretty
cool. That's gotta be fun. I
It
never
was
played
fun.
football, so
practices were horrific, and I just got my ass kicked. I don't like this at all. And this is before people started lifting weights.
You'd go up against kids that were having hormone issues, and they were giants.
Yeah, I remember that there was a game where it listed the opposing players' name and weight in 6th grade. And one of the guys was 248 pounds. And I was like, if he tackles me, I could die. I mean, I'm 80 pounds. But he was slow as
Mom,
fuck
you're
and didn't
sending
tackle.
me to my death today.
I would be
There are some brutes out
terrified.
there.
Yeah. My only experience with football is because my dad is British. I would play catch with a football by myself. That was one of those balls that you could throw high in the air and then run and then catch. So
Is that like
I would do
is that
that.
like a classic British father experience?
Yeah.
Playing
Well,
catch
he didn't
by
know how
yourself?
to he didn't know how to throw a football, so with that I was just, and I would go insane as a kid anytime I heard the I don't even know what theme song it is, but I think it's either like it's the song that would come on before big football games on Sunday. I think that da, da,
It's
da,
the Fox
da,
song.
da,
Yeah.
da. And I would run around the basement throwing a football to myself and like catching it and being like, touchdown! Like I would get so hyped for that song.
Oh, that makes me
So I still
sad.
love football. Like but I never played it. I don't really like have it. I guess the Vikings kind of, but that's
Yeah.
more
You
or
know, I'll
less like
say
a
it.
party fan. I'm a
There's
party
room on
fan.
this Jags bandwagon, Nick. You
That
are
doesn't seem like
welcome.
a fun bandwagon. That seems like the Titanic, to be honest. It seems like a bad bandwagon.
They're gonna get Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, someday they're gonna fix up the Titanic and we're gonna float again.
That's right.
Mark my words, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
you
gonna
think you think their icebergs as big as back then? Now?
Ugh.
Titanic floats, baby.
All right, I'm getting back to the documentary though. Did you guys catch the part? And I believe it was in the beginning where they were like, this guy was coming off he said he learned his mistakes from the WFL.
John Bassett, the owner of the Tampa Bay Bandits.
Okay. So Ryan, do you know what the is that really is that the women's football league?
That is the Women's Football League. No, it was
Where's the documentary about that? That immediately
it's
distracted me. I was like, what was that?
No, it was just a failed secondary league that was in the 70s.
It sounds like it needs a reboot because that's what we need for equality.
Well, Donald Trump wasn't
it
involved.
didn't
so
actually
you ain't
have
getting
women in it.
Oh, okay. It was just a fundraiser for all women. And it was just a regular football game with men in it.
I think the W stood for world.
Oh, God damn it. God damn it.
Did you genuinely think it's for women?
Of course I did. I was like, maybe that was part of the burn the bra movement. They also wanted to put on pads. Fuck these bras. We're putting on pads.
No, that's an idea. I think we got $1 million idea.
All I'm saying.
Anyways, moving forward here.
We're starting up a GoFundMe, Women's Football League. Burn your bra and put on some pads.
Not tam pads either, like football pads.
No. Oh, not? Yeah.
So the USFL came to be.
Oh, yeah, that's what this one was about.
Due to a perfect storm in '82, starting with the 8-week football strike of the NFL, the rise of cable TV, and the growing appetite for football in the U.S. So they start with 12 franchises, and here are just some of the names that just roll off the tongue. All right, we got the Chicago Blitz, the Denver Gold, the Los Angeles Express, and the now famous Tampa Bay Bandits. And it starts with the current Heisman winner, Herschel Walker, signing on to play for the USFL on a 4-year
Generals.
or a 3-year, $4 million deal for the New Jersey Generals. I think that's just the start of it. You know how, I mean, they were saying though in the doc that the NFL wasn't going to touch him because of NCAA violations, but I think that's a good first move by the USFL, getting the best college football player at that time.
Yeah, sure. It's not going to hurt your TV exposure to have the best
Doesn't
player
hurt,
in college
doesn't hurt.
football.
And so the season starts with large crowds, some big time TV ratings. And then you have especially a team like Tampa Bay, which is killing it, who has Burt Reynolds as a general partner of the team. I just I knew nothing about Burt Reynolds, but I never expected he would be involved with a USFL team in
Such a
Tampa Bay,
wild
Florida.
card in
I'd
this
like his role to
documentary.
be specified a little more.
Yeah, what's a general partner? What do you do?
You know, he's got Lonnie Anderson on posters.
Also, he looked so weird in this documentary. Like he looks like a Team America character, you know? He's like got
Yeah.
those like a weird face and like it's all Botoxy and
He's got
he
the
says
shades
things
on. He's got the
he's
rings on, the jewelry.
and he says things very quietly. He's like, yeah, I don't know.
But he says them quietly, and they command a certain respect because he's Burt Reynolds, the man's man supporting the USFL. He's bigger than Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise and all the Toms,
And
really.
all the Toms. I thought that too, and I was like, what other Toms are you gonna name? You couldn't
Yeah.
think of any more Toms. Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise.
And Tom Berenger.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, let's draw
Well,
the
he's a
line
Tommy.
somewhere.
Come on. He ain't a Tom. He's a Tommy. Now the season starts off with a bang. Has a successful championship first season where the Michigan Panthers go on to win.
Oh,
They have that QB at the time of the Michigan Panthers. I believe his name was Bobby Hebert. I don't know. And he was saying how he was on food stamps before, and then he got to the USFL, got 250 grand, and then won the title.
yeah, rags
You
to
know,
riches
it's a
story.
beautiful rags to riches story. Absolute beautiful.
That warmed my heart almost to the point of tears. But
And we'll get to that, folks. We'll get to that.
All right.
And then after the successful first year, this is where the real meat and small potatoes comes into as
By the
Donald.
way, small potatoes
Great
are
job
some
there,
of the best
Brad.
potatoes. Good for
They are.
Great segue. But come on, give the
As
guys
Donald
a
Trump
chance, Donnie.
purchases the New Jersey Generals, thus starting the feud between Trump, the USFL, and the NFL. And so it goes on to then talk to the Generals announcer of the time. His name was Charlie Steinman. And he said,
Steiner.
Donald, what was it?
Charlie Steiner. He
Steiner.
was an
there it is.
ESPN anchor for a while. Now does broadcasting for the LA Dodgers.
And so he said, quote, Donald wanted to become a big shot, and he wanted to do it by buying an NFL team. Donald Trump wasn't a Donald, he was the Donald. And in response, Trump says, Charlie Steiner was a nobody. Charlie Steiner couldn't get a job. So I hope he said that in a friendly way, because if he didn't, I would love to take him on like I take everybody else on. I hope he remains loyal, and if he doesn't, let me know and I'll attack him.
You'd have to be the biggest tattletale. Be like, yeah, Don, Charlie's not being very loyal right now. So I think what you need to do right now is just attack him, baby.
It's just frightening.
What a cool way to come off in an interview when you're asked a question. You go, oh, who asked that? Yeah, I'll attack him. Like,
He's a nobody.
You're a great guy. You're a cool dude.
That's the guy that I want leading the country, really.
That's watching this whole documentary with the amount of Trump in it was like watching, like when you watch somebody who's like drinking too much throughout the whole night. Like at first they're like, this is great. I'm having a great time. And you're like, don't keep drinking because in a couple hours, you're going to be fucking puking in an alley somewhere. I don't know. I had that weird premonition, like I wanted to go back in time and be like, you're never going to believe this. The guy that you're pissed off at because he bought a football team is going to rule a country. And then people are going to storm the Capitol for him.
Yeah. The vomit in the alley is that January 6th.
Yeah, exactly. Like we as a country like started drinking Donald Trump around this time and then got so intoxicated with him that we ended up a fucking loser puking in an alley. Probably going to cut all that out, but it's true, damn it.
I know. This document, the whole thing, it's just like, well, it's a very cool story. I wish Donald Trump wasn't in it. And that's basically how I feel about America. But he's got some crazy fucking quotes in this thing.
He really does. He also says, I think around this time when he's brought into the documentary, he's asked about the USFL, and he goes, "Oh, we had a great lawsuit," which I've never heard somebody say ever.
That's statement one. Well, it was fun. I don't really think about the USFL anymore, but we had a great lawsuit. No, you lost the league because of that lawsuit. What the fuck are you talking about?
You tanked an entire league of athletes. Like, that affected hundreds of thousands,
thousands of people.
Thousands of people. Yeah.
Thousands.
And the fact that he calls it small potatoes is like such a red
it's a direct
flag
shot to so many people.
Slap in the face.
It's also kind of like he didn't understand what was going on in the first place, because he calls it small potatoes, and it's like, yeah, we know it's football in the spring. It's small potato, but we're having fun. Like, that's the whole point of it, is that it's like, we're just here chilling in the spring, playing football the fun way, not really caring, and people love watching it. Like, of course it's small potatoes. That's what makes it good.
In his mind, the only thing he wanted to do was compete with the NFL and become an owner of an NFL franchise, which just buy that in the first place.
Which
they didn't want him.
That's the problem, is Donald Trump is such an ass hat that none of the rich people wanted him throughout his whole life. He's been trying to be like, I'm trying to be one of the top dogs. I'll own an NFL team, and nobody likes him because he's an ass. And so he's like, okay, I'll just go to fucking stupid people then. And then that's how you get to be the president.
Yeah. Well, you may have LA and New York, but I've got the stupid people of this country.
As the second year of the USFL started, they jumped from 12 to 18 teams because they wanted more money, selling more franchises, thus resulting in them moving too fast and kind of hurting themselves in the pocket and for the future. They kept getting more players from college, more Heisman winners. One of them actually was Jim Kelly for Houston. And so he was just lighting it up, became league MVP. And they're saying how the Astrodome, which is where the team played in Houston, was becoming such the place to be that there was a couple that got married there, and the grill master, George Foreman, was the one who officiated the wedding.
The traditional Houston wedding.
It's just, how do you get to a point where you're getting married by George Foreman in the Astrodome in Houston?
I'm telling you, and I'm going to stand by this, because a lot of this whole podcast, I'm going to stand by this, because I wasn't born yet either. Everybody in the 1980s was on drugs. I don't understand how you end up being like, let's get married in the worst possible way in a stadium with George Foreman for a USFL team. Like, I don't know.
I want to track down that couple. I want to know if they're still doing it. They're still strong.
The only logical reason in my mind is that you're on cocaine or drugs, or you're drunk, because it's the 1980s and you don't know any better. That I wasn't alive. It seems like all you guys were going crazy. Ryan, I know you were alive.
Yeah. Well, just barely. I just made the cut in the 80s. But yeah, back at the time, everybody was getting married by George Foreman, I remember. And, couples would exchange vows in the Astrodome.
Do you think they would would they get a free grill? Because I'd get married for a free grill.
That's the best reason to get married, I think. And we got the traditional George Foreman grill. We exchange vows, and this marriage is gonna last 2 months.
Yeah, we get married in a stadium, and it's really tacky and kind of lame, but we got a free grill and none of the grease. All the grease comes down into this trap.
Look, what's the number one complaint about everything you eat off the grill? What's with all this grease? Hey, Georgie Four.
I want to bring up this point in the documentary. I wrote down a note with, did you guys see in one of the highlights, there was a turf field with just a pond in the middle of it?
No.
No.
I didn't see that.
Fuck. Never mind.
There's a
huge amount of water. I don't know. It was a huge amount of water. It was a turf.
You gotta
field.
note those things.
God damn it.
So
in the second year, this is where the money problems really start to show. And then starting quarterback of the San Antonio Gunslingers.
The Gunslingers.
Ryan, this is your cue.
From San Antonio. The gunslingers at home or on the road. Remember the Alamo, for such as we are known. Were the gunslingers from San Antonio.
Oh, beautiful.
That does actually kind of slap. I think that's better than the Colts fucking fight song that we covered last episode, but no one will bring that up.
It's getting better every episode, baby. I really enjoyed that song. And maybe it brought me to tears.
The Gunslingers.
We'll get there.
Could you imagine if a marching band went to the capital of San Antonio going, Gunslingers from San Antonio, and the lawmakers are like, we need USFL back.
The USFL.
That's the story.
I think that's we march on San Antonio. We get just the one team of the USFL back. I remember that fight. So I was crying the whole time, so we had to give them a team, even if they were in a league by themselves.
I bet USFL games were like a place where people like had their first beer, like got laid the first time. It seemed like a fun environment.
Yeah, it seemed like a party in definitely Tampa Bay. That place seemed rocking. LA, maybe not as much. Maybe 8,000 people show, but they have a good time. They watch some pretty good. I mean, Steve Young was the quarterback there. They're
6 feet apart. They're being like futuristic.
Oh yeah, they predicted this whole pandemic thing, but not the fall of the franchise or the fall of the league.
I mean, that's
weird clairvoyance there. LA Express fan.
What about the? Brad. It's my turn now. The $1 million giveaway.
I apologize.
Yes, the $1 million giveaway is such a good promotion. You won't get it till you're dead, and it's gonna come in 20 installments of $50,000,
starting in 20 years.
Starting in 20 years.
And the guy who won it, like, definitely looked like probably in his 40s, 50s or something.
Yeah.
So he would start getting it when he's in his 60s and stop when he's in his 80s, which it's still $1 million, but kind of barely $1 million.
Look,
you gotta wait for it.
Give me 50 years, I'll be a millionaire. All right. It's such a good promotion. I love that promotion.
Give me 40 years and then I'll have $1 million.
Can you imagine like how hard it must be to react to when they tell you that? Because you go in and you go, oh, I want $1 million, and then you go, and then they're like, sign this thing, and by the way, it's going to come to you in 20 years and in $50,000.
It's going to start in 20 years.
It's going to start in 20 years,
in 40,
and then it'll take 20 years, but it's still $1 million. You go, well, thank you, but fuck you. Like, it would be such a hard thing to react to.
I thought this was all but all right, I guess.
Okay. I guess.
So I just keep on living this normal life for another 20 years?
Okay.
All right.
I guess I didn't really win.
So what you're saying is my kids won. That's what you're saying.
Basically.
Also, these last two documentaries like do not bode well for the NFL. Both are just kind of not really vibing with the whole National Football League.
No, they do kind of frame the NFL in a poor light.
Poor light. But it's got to be said, I did make this genius point, and I wrote it down.
Let's
that
hear it.
I think the problem with the USFL in its core and in its essence is that it's a 4-letter acronym.
Oh, yeah. That hurts.
I mean, you got
that hurts.
NHL, NBA, MLS, NFL, DNC, RNC, CNN, Fox, NBC, ABC, PGA, CIA, FBI, USA. It's all 3 letters.
WNBA.
At WNBA, well, that's 4, Brad. And
Yeah, so
I just wanted to
What are you
put you
trying-
on the spot.
well,
see
no,
how
what
you
Nick's saying was
reacted.
at the time TV screens were so small that they couldn't fit 4 letters on there. And
Exactly.
it ended up hurting the entire league because they just couldn't squeeze it down to 3. It should just be States Football League.
and
the
that's why we're
SFL.
here today.
The United Football League, UFL. Boom. Problem solved.
Let's run with States, I think.
And all the names
Ugh.
of these USFL teams,
There's some good names in there.
I mean, a good amount of them are illegal. I do like the Gamblers. I think that's a cool name for a team. It describes their play style, and I that's cool.
Yeah. The Bandits. That's a pretty good name. The Maulers, not crazy about.
Who is the Maulers?
Oh god, the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Why
Why would you? It sounds. When I think of mauling, I think about like a grizzly bear attack.
Yeah,
And just
bad
get like
thing.
that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna claw you to death and then eat you. That's what we're doing on this football field.
it's like a very specific type of violence. It's like calling it teams like the Batterers.
Yeah. They've also got names like the Memphis Showboats. I wrote all of them down. The Memphis Showboats is just a delight. Because
I know we've got
even
the
if we lose the
Outlaws,
game-
Gunslingers, Bandits.
we're going to be showboating the whole time.
Showboats.
Reggie White played for them. Reggie White, the Hall of Fame former Packer, Super Bowl winning Packer, who was incredibly good, played for the Memphis Showboats, which is just funny to think about.
We all got to get our start somewhere.
And that's what happened for so many people in the USFL. But
Ryan,
it
what was
just
the
small
LA?
potatoes.
What was the LA team?
LA
The
Express.
Express.
The
You know
Express.
you know the city you can get everywhere so quickly. The
Yeah.
LA Express.
It sounds like the name of a train that they desperately need, but they don't have.
Yep, that's right. It was a hypothetical
bet-
team name.
I bet people in LA actually got excited when they were like, coming to your city, the LA Express. And they're like, we're
Holy
getting a
shit.
train. And they're like, no, you're getting a 3rd football team. And they're like, what the fuck?
From the USFL.
Yeah, but this one's faster. All right. Well, 8,000 of us will show up, I guess. That team was not one of the well, they were pretty decent, but their attendance was bad. They broke down the
Yeah.
attendance in this. Which
After the
I like.
84 season, that's definitely where the attendance was down, the ratings were down, the TV was down, and that's definitely when the feud between the Bandits owner Bassett and the general owner Trump started feuding, where Trump wanted to bring it to the fall, Bassett wanted to keep it in the spring. And then because of some of the failing broke owners, there's about 4 to 5 of the owners who were struggling with financials. They thought that they would tie themselves with Trump and fall football, even though Trump didn't give a shit about them. And,
there's a quote from a Bandits guard, Chuck Pitcock. He manipulated them because when the USFL, at that point, there were 4 to 5 owners that were broke, didn't have the power or the money, and they figured if they rode with Donald, they might end up with some. You ain't gonna end up with none. he's going to throw your ass to the street too. And that's exactly what fucking happened.
Yeah. It's clear as day, just like the other 30 for 30s we watched, is that obviously Trump doesn't understand what the league even is. Like, they had an awesome opportunity, I think, to create what they have for soccer in England, where they have the EPL, like an
absolutely.
elite league, and then they have this a bunch of other leagues with other teams playing the same sport, and a relegation promotion system, which makes it like you could
So
really
exciting.
get so exciting, and you could get every city in America having a football team and competing on that big of a scale. But no, we've got to have this asshole basically just shoving it all in to try to cash out quick.
Well, that's okay. That's a very interesting thought, because I don't know the history of like English football, but now if you were an NFL team, wouldn't you be in so deep and have so much fucking money that if someone came to you and was like, "Hey, we've got this relegation idea. There's going to be a couple of you teams who are making stacks on stacks to possibly, well, no, for sure will be relegated to, like the USFL." They're going to be like, "No, fuck that. We already have a monopoly. We're already killing it." Like, what? That's the thing, that it's a beautiful idea and it would make it so much fun. But the NFL teams would be like, "No, I'm already killing it. I don't care. Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't care if our team's shit.
Yeah,
still making money."
they get viewers over the whole state, over, the amount of people who are fans of Jacksonville. It takes over a whole area. Yeah, I get it. People gotta make millions and millions of dollars in this country, but it just sucks to see that they were so close to something like so fucking cool.
It's not like they didn't have talent either. There were good USFL teams.
Yeah.
They got the Heisman winner 3 years in a row. It's not like they didn't have any talent. It's the owners kind of got greedy.
Like, in England, like every big city, even medium city, has some level of a club, and they have a legitimate chance of winning, going up. That would be so cool if the US had some form of that.
Yeah.
Where, like,
I mean, you do have minor and major league baseball where players can do that, like individuals can do that, but it would be so cool if teams could do that. I think.
No, I agree. And that way the games that are played between, the 17th and 18th ranked teams in the Premier League really mean something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Instead now it's just like a better draft pick or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like having playoffs. I think playoffs are cool, and having like a Super Bowl sort of finale to a season is cool. That's something that the EPL doesn't really have, because it's just a point total sort of system. So there's ups and downs to both sides, but it was just a bummer to see. And I was just so sick of seeing, especially since now we're like just done with his presidency and he was all over the news for the past 4 years. And then we watched this documentary and it was just like, oh, another thing to add on to another reason why you don't like him. He did this shitty thing in the 80s. So now football is what it is.
Yeah.
There's no football in spring because of his greed.
Yeah.
Essentially. What was the line? Greed and patience
don't mix.
God, where is it?
And greed won out in this situation.
For sure. I mean, it does in most, but it did in our first episode, King's Ransom. And we got greed showing its ugly face again. And it's just like, I don't think Donald Trump thought that they could win out in the fall, unless he's just an idiot. Because it's stupid to think.
Yes. It seems like he was an idiot, because
no one's going to be like, I've been cheering for the Browns my whole life, but I'm not gonna watch him today. I'm gonna watch USFL. Like that shit's not gonna happen.
There's a Trump
I'm
quote.
watching the Memphis Showboats today.
Yeah. If you're gonna play football in the spring, you cannot get the monies necessary to make it to make it a viable, I don't do a good Trump impression, but a really viable enterprise.
Really violent.
So we have to go into the fall. And what do we find? We find that the NFL has all three networks. It's like, yeah, no shit. Didn't you do any research about? Oh, turns out the NFL is on all three networks, and you're not going to get.
I could have told
any
you that
sort
by
of
looking
TV.
at any given Sunday during the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what were you expecting? No, we got to move to the fall. That's the only season football can be played in. It doesn't work in any other season.
He wanted an NFL team, couldn't get one, bought a USFL team, and then tried to weasel his way into, trying to like combine the leagues or get his way into owning a NFL team.
I do like those two those two really good quarterbacks. I'm terrible with names, so that's going to be a whole thing throughout the whole show.
Joe
But-
Kelly, Steve Young.
and they had that game
Jim Kelly.
that was like the best game. They called it in the newspapers the best game that nobody saw.
Oh yeah, LA Express versus the Houston Gamblers.
Yeah, yeah.
What a
And
legendary game.
And Jim Kelly, when he and Steve Young get together, they still talk about that game. Because Jim Kelly threw 3 touchdowns in the last 7.5 minutes. And the Houston Gamblers came back and won.
575 yards.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how cool that would feel to be some of the people there and being like, it's like being at a cool bar that nobody knows at yet. You're like, yo, this is the shit, and nobody's here, and it's a football game. To feel like that inside, or it's like a band. It's like getting in on a band before it's cool.
Sure.
I mean, they only had like 8,000 people. 8,000 people are the only ones that can say that they saw that game, because no one else was coming to watch.
I think that's a cool experience. I think we should, like, when COVID slows down, I would love to go to a sports game with like just us. I think that would be so fun. More
That would be a
intimate.
blast.
Yeah. I think it like, let's do it more like like a speakeasy bar sort of situation. Let's make basketball really hipster, where we got to go to like small little gyms and there's like candlelight and we drink $10 beers and have like a blast.
Sure.
I think that's the future of sports in America.
The future of sport
Booze it
is
up.
just in speakeasies. You got another password. And you're gonna see some really underground raw shit. And
Yeah.
you gotta pay a bunch of money to get drinks there or whatever. But it's gonna be so worth it because the experience is just as good as in a
The bartender's gonna
20,000 stadium.
the bartender is gonna not be very nice, but you weirdly like really want to impress them.
Mhm.
and-
They've got a really cool haircut and
Yes,
they mix
yes.
incredible cocktails.
For some reason, you think that even though they're just a bartender, they make way more money than you.
Hmm. Well, they have to. You don't
They work at a
you don't
speakeasy
bartend
basketball
for the USFL if you can't mix a drink.
place.
So then we get to the final point of the documentary, which is the antitrust lawsuit that we did talk about, where they were saying that the NFL had a monopoly on the television rights, and the jury did rule that the NFL was guilty. They did have a monopoly, but the jury said that most of the USFL problems were due to mismanagement, thus awarding them $1, which was tripled under antitrust laws to $3. So I want one of you guys to explain it to me, because I still don't understand why did they only give them $1? Does anyone know?
There was
I think
There's
it's because
there's the Trump quote there. And
the NFL's lawyers,
the NFL
according
did
to
a very
Trump,
good-
they convinced the jury that Trump doesn't need any money. Like, they don't need to be punished financially.
the NFL did a very good job in that they did lose, a very big antitrust case, but they convinced everybody that Trump is very rich. He doesn't need money. So the jury said, we're going to give the victory to Trump, but he doesn't need the money. And they were very smart about that. And it's just like such a fucking cool guy.
And he has to say they were very smart about that because he can't admit that he wanted the money. He can't admit that he's not that rich, that he didn't want a shit ton of money.
And he can't admit that he's lost anything ever.
Yeah. So he's just kind of like, they were smart about saying that I have a lot of money because I do.
Yeah. And
I'm definitely not fucked.
And Charlie Steiner, you're nothing. But if you say it in an unfriendly tone, you know, then I'm really gonna come and attack you. It's just like. Sweet.
And after that $3.76 with interest that they won, the league decided that they were going to close their doors, release their players from the contracts that they had. And then the director showed Donald the check, who then sees the check, gives the check back, and then immediately leaves. But then he says, you know, he thought he was the reason that the USFL lasted as long as it did. He was the reason for its success, but not its downfall. And that's how the film ends. Final thoughts. Ryan, did you cry?
No, I didn't. I was too upset with Trump about the gall, the gumption that he had. I was the reason this league succeeded.
They really tried to make me cry with having the intelligent rich guy who wanted the best for the USFL die on the trial date. They really tried.
Oh,
they're like
they brushed
Mr.
over
Bassett.
that. Otherwise, I would have cried in a second. I would have cried so quickly. It takes nothing for me to cry in movies. But they just kind of glossed over that. Yeah, he died the day of the trial. I was like, okay.
Okay. It was real quick. I mean, he was such a focal point of the league. And then he's just like, yeah, he died. Started the trial.
Yeah. It just they tried to make me cry, and I thought about it and I was like, I bet Ryan's crying right now, and that made me not cry.
I held strong this time.
You held strong.
I'm ready to drop a tear at any moment if any of you want to go, though.
And on that, you know, Ryan, I want to ask you, can you please sing us out for the third episode?
Wrap it up, baby.
We're the gunslingers, and we stay 30, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our third episode. Our next episode, episode 4, will be on the film titled Muhammad and Larry, which is a look at the October 1980 fight between the two fighters and the impact that it had on them. Again, I wanted to thank you guys for listening. Please stay 30 and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. 30 for 30 and 30 podcast. Again, that is 30 for 30 in 30 podcast. You can see it on our Zoom background if you're watching on YouTube. If not, please watch on YouTube. You'll get you get a view of our 3 beautiful faces.
And you get to watch us take pee breaks during the episode.
Well, this time we didn't.
I wanted to.
But please rate and review us on wherever you find your podcasts. 5 stars.
Yeah, 4 stars this time.
Or 4, you know, like we're okay. Just not 3 or 2 or 1. Come on.
None of those.
No, I don't deserve 5 stars.